Hey, good Monday evening, football fans, Pitt State football fans. Welcome to another installment of the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomchek along with the coach, live at Chatter's Restaurant and Bar in Pittsburgh, our home on Monday nights during the Pitt State football season. The Gorillas are
that you just can't keep cool. They're called hotspot.
Gorillas are 4-0. Yeah, you'll hear that again in a little bit. So don't worry, they didn't cut it off. 4-0 after the only non-conference game of the season, 49-7 at home over William Jewell. It was Family Day weekend, and so a good night on both sides of the ball for the most part. And Pittsburgh State will hopefully use that momentum to head to what we know will be a very challenging game Saturday against Northwest Missouri at Arrowhead in the 10th installment of the Fall Classic. Bring Coach Beck in here, and Coach, any number of things obviously about that game. And bottom line is, I think the big thing was, the last thing I asked you on postgame was, did you pass the mental test? Because Truman State, there were so many breakdowns, but you didn't fumble this game, a lot fewer penalties. Do you feel your guys were focused to clean up a lot of that stuff?
Yeah, I think there's no question. We were, we came out with good focus, good intensity at the beginning of the game. Defense, even though they gave up a couple of first downs on the first drive, they really settled in and really played well. And Jewell was able to get a couple of runs on us and kind of run a little bit of clock at times. But other than that, defensively, they didn't score till later. And I thought it was really crucial when we came out at halftime to come out and take control of the game early in the third quarter. I thought our guys did a good job of that.
And again, it's one of those situations, we talked about it after Emporia. You get a night game, you get to lay around, you worry about that stuff, but a home game always helps your focus. And boy, almost 9,400 Family Day weekend. What a great night.
Oh, the fans and the crowd was just phenomenal. And, we were surprised early in the day. It seemed like the parking lot was fuller than it was the week before. And I think there's, a lot of people that are pretty excited about Gorilla football right now. So we're drawing a really good crowd, and the crowd's been loud and has really helped us defensively. So hopefully we can keep that up. Yeah,
it's that crowd was, I thought, in it early. And as we said, kind of on first and second down and those types of things. Into this ball game, you look at Jewell and non-conference, and people don't know a lot about him. We haven't played him in recent history. So it seemed like your guys, last Thursday in the press conference did a good job of not worrying about who you were playing, maybe worry more about themselves. You always have to prepare for who you're playing, but what's it say about this team leadership, maybe a little more mature, that they're able to focus and talk about those things rather than what's ahead?
Well, I think you hit the right word. Maturity is what we were concerned about after the Truman game, seeing how we would handle coming out against William Jewell. I mean, we knew that maybe they weren't quite as solid as a team as some of the teams that we've been playing, but come out and play our game. I think defensive line-wise, they get pretty cranked up anytime that you know that they're going to throw it around a little bit. You got a chance to go get a sack. That's pretty exciting. So it wasn't too hard to get those guys pumped up, but everybody else, you just worry more about execution than anything. And that's the thing about practicing during the week. You've got to practice at game speed every day. If you don't, you start losing some things, especially with the execution on the option game. So, thought for the most part, executed pretty well.
Yeah, it was a windy night. It turned chilly. It started spitting rain at halftime a little bit. Do you worry about those things? It was 21-0 at half, but do you worry about those things as a coach? Your kids notice that and lose sight of some fundamentals?
We don't have to worry about it near as much as we used to with all the turf fields now.
Sure.
Used to really worry about that a lot. That used to be a big factor in some of the things that you did, but really doesn't affect much anymore. You usually have pretty good footing for the most part. I guess you do worry about handling the ball offensively, but for the most part, again, other than the interception that we threw, we executed it much better offensively this week.
And, I asked you, too, about Jewell on postgame. This I thought was pretty interesting because for their struggles, they give you a lot of different looks, and I know you felt that was good for you for what you'll see this weekend.
Yeah, defensively, Coach Weimers had talked about that. We hadn't seen that up to this point. So, you'd see a lot of times where they would shift or trade a tight end and move people over, which affects us defensively, where we got to change our calls and move people around and switch our defensive line and move people back and forth. So, we can expect to see more of it throughout the season, but it was really good for us to get that in before we get through to some of these tougher games in the MIAA.
And explaining that to people, talk about, why you maybe motion just one guy across formation and still just turn around and hand it off. Some of the things that you do with motion and what's the basis of some of that stuff?
Well, a good example is I saw Washburn do it the other night against Western, and then we were watching video and saw Hayes do it, or Northwest did it against Hayes as well, as just being a two tight end formation with the receiver out wide, take the back and motion him out wide, run play action to the one back and throw the tight end down the seam. You see people do that a lot, and you would think it's pretty simple, but when you have to move that corner out and then somebody else has to guard the tight end man, and then you run play action at them, and then they're playing run first, and the next thing you know, the tight end's past you. So there's a lot of little things like that where motioning one guy can change a lot of what you're doing defensively.
You know that, and sometimes you guys will run those ball fakes on play action and that zone option look. How much of that is it sometimes just a half second, you're trying to freeze a defender?
Absolutely. And there's several different ways to run fakes too. Sometimes you want them to see that the ball's not in the belly or the ball's not in the pocket. And it just depends on how you're doing it. But there's a lot of different ways to run fakes. And that part of our game, our play action pass game's got to continue to get better. If we're going to grow as a passing team, we're going to have to get better at a play action pass because we are effective in the run game, and we need to use that to our advantage in the pass game.
A lot of wrinkles with that one run game and finding ways to get the ball to different people and be productive. So that among the many things to talk about. We need to take our first break. When we come back, we'll delve into that first half. Pitt State, a fluid first half with William Jewell. So that and more when we return with Coach Beck. Two chatters after this.